We have a big adventure on the papers today. Grab a goblet of mead and put on your cape. Because today, we're going to a Renaissance Fair Festival! We're going to the Kansas City Renaissance Festival because we're Midwest boys! Lucas and I always are looking for a reason to become someone else for a day. We don't want to be ourselves. So this was the perfect chance to hop on to like wearing a costume and not being ourselves for a day. Type into AI, create an image of two basic ass, annoying ass, Midwest ass people. Gay ass. And this is the exact photo that would be generated. Since this is Jacob's video, he planned all the outfits and he surprised me with this costume from Spirit Halloween. This is a Templar? I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't know what that is. When I see the photo on the front, I'm like, oh, medieval person. I don't know what they do in the medieval era. Yeah, I went to Spirit Halloween and I just tried finding a Renaissance outfit and I thought this looked like a knight. Did some Googling and it is a knight. Oh. Four Knights of Christ and the Temple of Solomon. From the 12th to the 14th century. Okay, so I'm sort of like a knight for Christ. Oh, I guess there is a cross on my shirt. I should have connected the dots with that. Hell yes. Also, Jacob and my other younger siblings got me these sunglasses for my birthday this year. They just gave sort of a Charlie XCX vibe to add to the whole look. Also, I did want to protect my skin on a sunny day, so I wore a sun hat over it. And I do feel like some Templars did wear sun hats back then. I did wear my actual shoes. I should have invested in some Renaissance era brogues. Is that a word? B-R-O-G-U-E? I don't know. It was disheartening because right when I walked out of the car, Jacob and I spotted another individual wearing this exact costume. Everyone's gonna sort of label me as a very basic person since I got a Spirit Halloween costume that everyone else is wearing. I didn't make my own, you know? I don't really know that much about Renaissance Fair people, but I feel like if you're really into it, you would look down on this. Throughout the day at the festival, I think I probably saw like 3 other people wearing an outfit. I was happy you gave me this costume though, because remember that hilarious joke someone said? Oh, don't lose your Templar! I actually feel bad because I feel like we lowered their self-esteem because we just looked at them straight-faced. I think both of us just did a fake little chuckle because we didn't quite understand what they meant, but what was the joke? I still don't really. You know what I mean? Because I'm a Templar. They said, don't lose your Templar. Like, and don't use your temper, is that what they said? Yeah, just basically, yes, don't lose your temper, but like mixing a Templar, you know what I mean? My outfit is more of a DIY outfit. So it all started with this gnome long sleeve. This is from actually like years ago when I was in elementary school because one year I was a gnome for Halloween. I don't know why I chose to be that, but yeah, I was like a garden gnome. Part of Renaissance fairs are like mystical, magical creatures. So the gnome plays into that element. And then I have these pants that have a yellow stripe that honestly there's not a reasoning for them, but I found them in a big bucket in our parents' basement full of Halloween costumes. And Lucas let me know these were actually pants that he wore during a dance recital when he was younger. Yeah, I don't know to what song I was tap dancing to in these pants, but I know I wore them. And then I have a cape, and I know it's just a vampire cape, but I was picturing it's more of a royal robe. When those kings sit on that little throne and they have that robe on, that's what that's supposed to be. And then I'm wearing a blonde wig just because I wanted to fully be another person. There's actually no Renaissance reason for that. To me, that's giving the vibe of you're trying to be a Prince Charming person. You know, like how princes are part of the whole thing? When you told me that, you ruined the whole look because then you just made me embarrassed. I'm not trying to be Prince Charming. I just wanted to wear that wig for shits and gigs. And lastly, I have some penguin feet on because that kind of goes into the mystical element. So I guess this outfit is a gnome king penguin. Oh, I cannot forget, I also brought a Juicy Couture purse, and it's not to flex on everyone, to tell everyone I have a designer bag. It's actually because it kind of looks medieval. It does, and it's not a fake. It's our sister's old bag that she doesn't use anymore that Lucas got her for Christmas years ago. One Christmas, I gave my two little sisters each a Juicy Couture purse. And I said, you wear this to middle school, girls. You wear it loud and proud, honeys.
I was just on a cloud when we arrived because I was like, this is what I pictured a Renaissance fair to be like. It looks like we're in an old English village or something.
Right away, I was blown away by how elaborate it all is. Like, they actually built these structures. Like, I kind of thought it would just be a semi-glorified farmer's market. Like, very half-ass. You know, some little cardboard things of castles. And I still would have been satisfied with that, but
we have to learn a little bit about the history of Renaissance fairs because I'm genuinely curious.
I know a lot of you, like me, thought this whole festival was about Beyonce's album, Renaissance. No, no, no. Let's actually learn what this is all about.
So the very first Renaissance fair was in 1963 in California, and then the decades following that, they became greatly popular. Whoa. When these fairs first started, they wanted them to be as accurate as possible to the actual Renaissance era. So they had like all the goods like actually use no electricity and stuff, so it actually would be goods that could be made in the Renaissance era. They would have performances that are like Renaissance era performances. And the Renaissance era is basically like when Queen Elizabeth was the queen. Queen Elizabeth I, like, this was like back in like the 16th century.
I always just thought, oh, this is a medieval festival, but it turns out the medieval era is actually separate from the Renaissance era.
And then it gets kind of confusing because what it seems like is every Renaissance festival also is a medieval festival. So basically it's called a Renaissance festival, but it's also a medieval festival.
It's people dressing up as kings and queens. It's also these Grimes people wearing elf ears. Like, there's like BDSM people walking around. And then there's also like innocent families just being royal. Like, it all jumbles into one thing, you know?
The biggest idea of a Renaissance fair is to basically enter back into the Renaissance era realm and feel like you're in the Renaissance era. And after walking in, I did kind of fall into the illusion.
Whoa. There was a drum being hit in a nice old rhythm, and then we looked over and there were these people prancing around in a circle around a pole. I guess this is what they always did back in the Renaissance days.
It does feel kind of freeing being in this environment because there's dust going everywhere. You just have to commit to being unhygienic for the day, which is always a fun task. Just let the dirt fly in your face, let all of the burps and farts just consume yourself. I don't know, it just...
We were hungry, so we had to hit the food area right away, and they had a bunch of options. Potatoes, Chinese food, paninis, tacos. Like, it all doesn't fit the Renaissance era. Like, I don't know if they were eating tacos in Europe back then, but they did have turkey legs. That's Renaissance accurate, I'm just gonna say. There was the longest line for these turkey legs. Everybody wanted one for an Instagram photo and to take one bite and throw it away.
When I was Googling turkey legs at Renaissance festivals, I actually saw that there's a conspiracy theory that they're emu legs.
Ew.
Let's be honest, it's not true, but that is a good conspiracy theory to get people grossed out and mad.
Jacob and I were saying this is both of our first time ever actually getting a turkey leg, so it was kind of fun, you know, we always see them at county fairs and stuff. And biting into it, I was like, okay, this isn't dry. It has flavor, the skin is so good. Basically, the skin was the best part, obviously.
It's giant.
Oh, it is, yeah, it's so big. I feel like I don't really understand meats though, because I was confused and I was like, oh, it's red? Like, I kind of thought it'd be white, you know? It did have me thinking though, where's the sauce? I feel like in the Renaissance era, they didn't even have sauces. Like, they just ate everything plain with maybe some salt and pepper and like some other herbs they found, but they never could just douse anything in ranch.
No, sauce is so good. Like, think about when you go to the grocery store, there's a whole aisle of sauce.
Sauces, saucy, keep it wet, keep it moist.
I was enjoying it because it was so salty. It tasted actually like movie theater popcorn. It had that level of butter and salt. But me and Lucas were on a mission to finish it, and I just fully believe that no one finishes these. Even though me and Lucas did eat quite a bit of this turkey leg, I feel like we're the 1% that actually gets this close to finishing it.
I don't enjoy eating that big of a meat thing. Like, I like little cute wings, you know, at Cheesecake Factory. Oh, let me get a different one. But like eating one thing like a dog gnawing on a bone, eventually you start psyching yourself out a little bit, you know? And then you started pretending like there was a piece of plastic in yours.
Oh yeah, there was a bunch of pieces of plastic in mine because maybe it's vegan turkey. No, those are just like ligaments or something. I don't know. But somewhere in my brain started creating this image of like, this is what it would have been like having oral sex back in the medieval times, because everyone would have been so unhygienic, and like you'd be eating someone out and then like it would look like a turkey leg. But I was telling Lucas about that vision I had in my head back then. I don't even know like how often people showered and stuff, and then I don't even think they did, but I was just...
Obviously, if you start bringing that stuff up, we're both just gonna throw away the turkey legs. It's the Renaissance era. There's no need to wash your hands after scarfing down the turkey leg. Just rub your hands all over your costume and let's get on with the day.
We were just walking around and then I heard someone on the phone saying, "It's just one bullshit thing after another. I can't find you, you can't find me. I already told you where I am and you can't find me."
Back in the Renaissance days, if they were at a giant town square event, they probably wouldn't be stressed out if they lost their friends. They weren't like, oh, let me text them. Like, it was just like, oh, I'll see them in a month maybe. We weren't satisfied with the turkey leg, so we needed a dessert to wash them down. But while we were in line for the dessert, a parade started happening.
I had no idea this was gonna happen, but yeah, there was like kings, queens.
Oh look, there's a jester strutting by. Then the Renaissance military people.
They were there to protect the king and queen, I'm assuming, and were like, yeah, if you mess with the king and queen, we're actually gonna kill you, so don't even try it. You guys are the peasants. And then there was this guy on a horse, and he looked royal, so I waved at him, but then there was a bunch of people by us booing him, so I immediately was like, oh, I guess I'm not supposed to be waving at this guy. I guess he's actually our opponent. I don't know. I have no idea why he's our opponent, but yeah, everyone hates him for some reason.
I think now we're getting to the peasant poor people part of the parade. I'm assuming these aren't royal people. And then there was like prisoners in the parade running around trying to escape.
That was a cool sight to see. Anyway, let's get our apple dumplings. We lost our place in line for the apple dumplings because of that parade. Now we're actually 2 people behind where we were. Now we have to wait longer for our apple dumpling.
Great!
A plastic bowl, a plastic spoon. It's very Renaissance.
100% historically accurate.
We decided to eat this apple dumpling at a magic show. There's so many shows at this festival. I think there's like 10 or more stages.
While he entertained us, I started eating my apple dumpling, but at first it was way too hot and I was so pissed. I was like, did I effing burn my effing tongue and I won't be able to taste anything for the next week? Luckily, it wasn't that much of a burn. Patience is a virtue. But once it cooled down and I actually got to experience it, it was great. It was just apple pie, kind of crispy on the outside. The inside had like that soft dough. Very, very scrumptious.
Yes, it was just the canned apple pie filling you get at the grocery store, but still, that never is bad. If you prepare it right, it's actually quite delicious. The magic guy put on a straitjacket. This is a classic magic show thing. They bring on a straitjacket and say, yeah, I can escape it, so even if I ever do go in mentally insane, I can escape a straitjacket. And I gotta say, magic shows feel kind of old-timey. I would actually say that we're in the worst time for magic shows. There's a bunch of videos debunking everything, saying that it's all fake. But can you picture going to a magic show back in the 15th century and someone pulls a card out of your belly button or something, but it's just a magic trick, it's not actually magic, but like you'd actually believe like, okay, so you're like Christ.
But that'd be terrifying being the magician back then, because you start doing the tricks a little bit too good, and next thing you know, you're burned at the stake hung upside down.
That's true. There's actually a delicate balance of being a magician where it's like, I am a savior, but then being a magician where it's like, you're actually evil and you're gonna burn us out and make us go to hell.
I think even if you were a really good singer back then, like if Adele was back then, they probably would have killed her, because they would just say, no one can be that good at singing.
Privies! These are bathrooms. I actually didn't know what that meant. I said, Lucas, what are privies? And he said, that's another way to say bathrooms, I guess?
Maybe it's just my past life from the Renaissance era, I still have a little bit of those thoughts in my mind, so I knew what it was.
Privies at this establishment are porta potties. Back in the day, if there was a fair, because there was fairs during the Renaissance era, they wouldn't have porta potties. Wouldn't they just have like a hole that you pee in or shit in?
Do they all just go to the alleyway and shit and piss? Most of the Renaissance Festival is a bunch of vendors, and I think most of this stuff is handmade, right? Like it actually is Renaissance era trinkets and things. Like I saw there were handmade leather masks, a wood shop where you could like get wooden things that somebody carved, bracelets, jewelry, soaps, I'm guessing. And people were in these shops, like they were packed.
People were shopping, like shopping. There was also more whimsical stuff like palm readers, astrology people that look at your birth chart and say when you're gonna die and stuff.
There was a thing where you ejaculate into a cup, they spin it around and read your past life.
You could do a lot of stuff at this fair, but oh my gosh, this is a cool thing. There's this dragon that spits out smoke every now and then. There was this guy behind me, but I didn't know there was a guy behind me, but Lucas was acting out weird, acting like he was doing a prank on me. And then I looked behind me and there was a guy behind me like photobombing it. He really did get me.
Oh, he. It was very pleasurable to see people's costumes. Like, look at these people in this horse costume. That does suck for the person in the back because if they're gonna commit to this costume all day, they won't see anything. And they'd be hunched over all day. I was on the lookout for a bimbo goat story girl, assuming that's kind of like Renaissance era. I feel like there was a goat story girl prancing around, but we just happened to not encounter her.
Now we're entering the Enchanted Realm. And I love the location of this fair. There's so many trees, nature.
And once we went under that Enchanted Realm sign, I felt this cosmic waves go over my whole body. Whoa. And I could tell we actually entered another dimension.
Because right after entering, there was a mermaid cove. And when we walked into the mermaid cove, there was 3 mermaids mermaiding it up. One of the mermaids actually talked to us. How you guys doing? Or I don't know what he said, but I just remember when he was talking to us, I couldn't focus on what he was saying because I was just in awe.
I was under a trance. And then I remember looking to the distance and there was this other merman waving to us. I felt so overwhelmed and scared, but also excited. And I do feel like I was getting hypnotized.
There was some pirate parts of the festival.
It's odd because I view pirates as a fake thing. Like I thought they were like fairies, dragons, but no, pirates were real and they still are real.
No, same with me. Arr, I got Scooby.
Did we go somewhere where they were doing pirate jokes?
It was the magician.
Oh, remember he said, what does a pirate eat? Arby's! Dungeon museum time! I'm so excited to learn about how they used to torture people back then and rip people's bodies apart. Oh, I wish it was still legal to do that today.
So you enter this crummy hallway, and it leads you through all of these torture devices. Like one of the first torture devices we saw was where they put a cage on a prisoner's stomach and they put a bunch of live rats in it. And then they put heat on the top of the cage so the rats eat your stomach flesh and then basically you die from rats eating you.
There's a movie or something where they do this, because I've seen this.
No, this seemed not that strange to me because there was some, yes.
It's not that strange.
No. There was some scary movie where this was a scene or something because why did this seem like familiar to me in the way of like I've like seen this in a movie before or something?
Yeah, I had a memory of it. Back then, you could not be a liar without getting your tongue ripped out of your mouth by this pole thing.
But also, these are like medieval torture devices or whatever, so it is kind of a thing where you also have to keep in mind, like, I feel like sometimes people weren't even lying, but like the people in charge just said, you're lying, because they wanted to torture someone.
Oh, for sure. I feel like these were always used on innocent people. A lot of people were wearing this mask throughout the Renaissance Festival, and yeah, this is a plague mask thing.
This is a plague doctor. So I guess they would, go to people's like villages or houses that have the plague. And it would be a way to protect themselves or something, but...
Why does there have to be a beak though?
It's horrifying. Even back then, I'm guessing people thought it was horrifying, but this just looks like the end of the world. This whole outfit, mask thing.
Here's how they used to punish gossipers, and specifically gossiping wives back then. I guess they would slowly lower you into a well until you agreed to stop gossiping. And by gossiping, I'm guessing they mean reporting abusive behavior from powerful men. Couldn't you picture they would say like, this guy's a creep, and they would say, you're gossiping, and then lower them into the well, like...
Yeah, I mean, I'm just done done with this dungeon museum. Seeing all these horrific torture devices, I don't want to live back in these torture devices days. I just want my Cheez-Its and my iPhone, and these can stay in the past.
We then stumbled upon a booth where you can pay to throw tomatoes at a peasant. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm doing this for sure. But then I saw a sign that said this is an insult show, PG-13, and I did quickly observe that the peasant getting tomatoes flung at him was roasting the throwers. I was scared that if I threw the tomatoes, he would roast me in a way that I'd never had heard before, and it would unlock a new level of low self-esteem that I wouldn't be able to escape from.
Lucas and I are both too egotistical to participate in an event like this.
We're very serious and we do not take any jokes. But it was fun being an observer, I gotta say. Like watching people fling these tomatoes at the guy's face and him yelling at them, making fun of their throws, making fun of their outfits. There were some guys buying multiple buckets because there was a guy who came up with a bucket and the guy said, oh, you're trying again, you aren't gonna be able to do it. Like, I think there was actually legitimate fights going on.
I was curious and I saw that throwing tomatoes is more of a thing that became popular in the 19th century or 18th century.
Really?
But back in the Renaissance era, like maybe there was times where they threw food at performers and stuff, but it wasn't tomatoes. It's time for the biggest event at the Renaissance Festival. I mean, I think it's the biggest event. We're on the joust field, and there's gonna be a jousting event. So basically, like people on horses with swords trying to kill the other person.
It is funny because I mentioned to Jacob that this is our third time this year seeing a jousting event. Like, what type of lives are we living? I'm proud of us that this is our third jousting event. Like, we might as well live back in the Renaissance era.
Whoa. This was like every other jousting thing we had been to this year. People get excited. People are into it. Unfortunately, me and Lucas, I don't know what was happening, but we weren't fully into it, but it was fun to witness other people be into it. Kill the other person, let's get blood. There was this group of people by us where the entire time we were there, and it was probably like 20 minutes, they were talking in a British accent to fully do the Renaissance era.
I feel like most everybody was 5 Renaissance era beverages deep.
There was a woman and then a man on a horse, and I didn't know which one we were rooting for. I honestly still am not sure, but all I knew is that people around us were mad and they were happy, so we kind of just copied their emotions.
The whole time it was just scanning around us, and then whatever they did, we did. Turn off our brains and just mimic.
Diet Pepsi is actually very accurate to the Renaissance era. I read somewhere that, Queen Elizabeth and like Shakespeare and stuff, like they every afternoon drink a Diet Pepsi to just have an indulgence.
So it felt good to be doing an on-theme activity. A very popular Renaissance fair food is pickles, so we had to get in line.
Both of us got a pickle from the dusty little bucket. I actually don't know if it was dusty, but I'm assuming it was dusty because there was dust flying everywhere.
This pickle was fantastic. Like sometimes you'll eat a pickle and you'll be like, oh, not enough juice, not enough of a tang. This was perfect, and I needed it. I needed that pickle.
There was a lot of garlic on this pickle. Neither of us washed our hands in preparation for this pickle. I think the last time both of us washed our hands was at lunchtime, and we'd been walking on this fair for hours, touching stuff. That's Renaissance era behavior, kind of being more unhygienic than these modern folks. If all of the kings and the queens on the thrones. I actually did snag a photo of the pickles they were using. I don't know where you can buy them, but I'm gonna include it in this video.
Oh look, it's an acrobatic circus show. This man and a woman were using a little hoop that was swinging and putting on a whole show. And I was entertained.
One of them had a kazoo and they just were like blowing that. It was a kazoo type circus show. And then we looked behind us and those people from the beginning were still spinning in a circle. So I guess that's the one constant of the Renaissance fair. There will always be people spinning in a circle over there. Silly, silly, silly! And the circus vibes continue with Jiggles the Clown. We each got this little turkey that would squeak. When the clown would do something cool, you would press the turkey for applause. She was a classic clown too because there were so many parts of the show where she was just juggling. And juggling is one of those things where when you do see it in person, you do look at it with awe.
They actually had some rides, and they were all Renaissance era accurate because none of them used electricity. It either was swings, they had to be spun by people, or like a pirate ship thing, but it's actually swung by a human. And Jacob and I knew we had to go on one of them, and we decided to go on what looked like the craziest, the swing and barrel.
There was a sign that said, ride at your own risk. And I actually don't think this sign is a joke. Because if you look at these amusement rides, they do look kind of DIY and stuff. So yeah, when you're in line, when you pay the $3 to go on it, you do have to commit to riding at your own risk.
If the rope breaks, you can't sue. Are you on board with that? Okay, get on. We got the perfect employee for this. Like, he was really giving it his all when he threw the barrel up, and he would also twist it so fast. Watching other people going on it, it didn't look that crazy, but when you're the person in the barrel, it is insanity. Like, I immediately started laughing, I was crying. I felt like we were in our own cartoon world, because when I looked at Jacob, all I saw was this blurry cartoon stuff going on behind him. Like,
were you on drugs or something? What do you mean?
I don't know what happened, but it just, everything looked like a cartoon. Like how when a cartoon person spins around and everything's like, "Argh."
I would actually say that it lasted a little bit too long. I felt a little bit queasy, like I was getting a little bit of a stomach ache, a little bit of a headache. And in that moment, I kind of realized somehow this Renaissance Fair ride is more insane than a theme park, like little twisty ride.
I felt gross after, and later that night before I went to bed, I had a throbbing headache, and I think this is what caused it. But it was worth it.
This was the first time the entire day that the line for the turkey legs wasn't long. It was actually short.
Why didn't we wait to get them for dinner? We didn't have to wait in a line for 3 hours earlier.
We were trying to find dinner, but on the way to dinner, we stumbled past a few shows like, wow, these people are playing with fire. Should I call the fire truck people? Because they might have to come, right?
Okay, is that guy balancing on a ball? How is he doing that? What is going on? Jacob and I actually ate at different food stands. I went to this place that was selling a Reuben the Great sandwich with chips. I was expecting French fries because English people call French fries chips, and I was like, Renaissance era, like I don't even know if they had fries, but like if we're just following England, it should be fries. It was just an effing bag of Lay's chips, it turns out. I put that in Jacob's juicy purse because I was like, I'm not eating these.
You're the pickle boy.
I know. I love a good pickle.
There was a whole plethora of food vendors. I honestly think any food you wanted, you could get. But I wanted to get something iconic and memorable that's like, Renaissance Fair, you have to do this, you know? Like, so I guess an iconic Renaissance Fair food is steak on a stick. I didn't see anywhere that sold steak on a stick, but I did see a vendor that sold steak sandwiches, and that's kind of similar, so it's kind of like steak on a stick.
So before I even bite into this Reuben sandwich, just know they're not Renaissance era food, obviously. They were actually invented in our home state, Nebraska. So give credit where credit is due. Anyway, it was great. You know, the first few bites I was like, oh, I'm not getting to the meat yet. But when I eventually got to the meat, the sauerkraut, the Thousand Island dressing, it was good. Was it the best Reuben I've had? Not even in the top 30. Was it the worst? Actually, maybe.
Are you joking?
Well, because I never really had a bad Reuben. If this was the worst Reuben I've had, it still would be really good. It'd be like if you said, out of all of the Playboy models I've banged, this is the worst one. Like, it's still gonna be good.
That's so relatable.
You know, everyone...
That's a good analogy.
Everyone always says that.
I didn't know what the steak sandwich was gonna be, but it comes on like a hoagie bun. There's some onions, peppers, and it is fat, juicy, and what? There was like a lot of juice. Like, I don't know if it was steak juice or what, but it was juicy. You would picture steak at a Renaissance Fair to just be the trashiest, most cheap steak there is. But in my opinion, I liked it. Not to be bashful, but I think this steak sandwich was a little bit too naturalistic to me. Dare I use the word healthy? It felt like something a mom in her 60s would get when she goes goes to dinner with her son that makes quite a bit of money. So they go to a fancy restaurant. I just don't align with this steak sandwich politically or anything. Sorry. Hickory dickory doop. It's so gay. It's so merry. Lucas said, well, we want the fair. This just gives such hickory dickory doo energy, and that sums up the entire fair. Just say it one more time. Hickory dickory doo.
Like if you were trying to explain Renaissance fairs to someone and they said, what happens there? If you literally just said, hickory dickory doo, they would understand. That's all you'd have to say.
Until Lucas tripped and almost died. Whoa. We were both bamboozled because we ordered ice cream and we were watching them make it. They would get a plastic bag that you rip open, get an ice cream scoop from a plastic bag. These ice cream scoops were single ice cream scoops in plastic bags. I'm actually just so confused. I've never seen this before. I don't have a video of it, but like that actually is what we saw with our naked eye.
I didn't know that these large-scale food places, to save time, bought pre-scooped ice cream. Like I didn't even know that was an option. And I don't know if it's because I knew this was a pre-scooped plastic bag ice cream scoop, but it tasted like that. You know that ice cream in that plastic thing with the paper top that has a spoon attached?
Yeah.
That's what this ice cream tasted like, and that gives the vibe of mass-produced pre-scooped.
I opted for the root beer float because I kind of thought maybe that's kind of a Renaissance era medieval type food, because something about root beer, it does kind of seem like that might be one of the first carbonated beverages ever invented. And of course I'm not trying to preach, but I do think a root beer float could do a lot of things for a lot of people. Milky soda cream goodness.
Alert, alert! Another interaction with a stranger is about to happen. So after dessert, we were walking and somebody looked at Jacob and said in a joking voice, "You dropped your pocket." To which Jacob, straight-faced, was like, What did he mean by that? You dropped your pocket? What's that to do with a goblin? Or I don't understand, but I feel like we need to ask ChatGPT because our minds aren't great enough to solve this. We don't get the joke.
Talking about my outfit though, my penguin feet were dirty, dusty.
The Renaissance Festival was about to close, so we started making our way towards the exit and we happened upon the last huzzah!
Spinning in a circle out merrily.
Huzzah! Huzzah! As we walked out, there were some Renaissance employees saying goodbye to us, wishing us well on our journeys, and we even got stickers that said Gaming Champion. I don't know what that means, but
huzzah! We've spent like 7 hours at this Renaissance Festival fair. Now we're going back to actual modern day industrialization. People on the internet saying a bunch of random stuff, and it's so overwhelming.
Computer chips inserted into brains. Humans converging with technology. Despite what I thought would happen, as I walked towards the sunset, all I could hear in my brain was, I'm not a princess. This ain't a fairy tale. Basically what I'm saying is the fairy tale ended.
Renaissance fairs are cool!